Today is Thursday, June the 5th, 2015, and we are, Joe Turner and myself, Judy Meyer, talking to Judy Repke. 2015. Is it? Stop.
No.
I am so sorry.
I missed a whole year.
It's June the 5th, 2014. I am so sorry. And we're talking to Judy Repke. How do you spell your last name?
R-E-P as in Paul, K-E.
And Judy is a member of our Bridgeton Historical Commission, and she has told us that she's lived in Bridgeton for a long time, so we're going to find out a little bit more about this. And thanks for letting us come over. And would you mind telling us what year you were born?
1943.
And were you born in Bridgeton?
Yes, Dr. Neubeiser delivered me.
Was he common to this area?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And where were you born?
I was born over in St. Joseph's in St. Charles.
Did what was his name?
Neubeiser?
Did he live here in Bridgeton?
That I'm not sure about.
Oh, okay. All righty.
But when my mom was pregnant and so forth, we were at 3817 Raymond across the street. In the Pattonville Plat.
Pattonville Plat it was referred to.
That's when they surveyed it.
And you had brothers and sisters as well?
Yes, I have a brother is Terrence Allen and a sister who is Crescence Allen.
Crescent?
Yeah, C-R-E-S-C-E-N-C.
Are they older or younger than you?
They're both younger.
Okay. So where did you go to school?
I went to Pattonville.
Pattonville grade school?
Mm-hmm.
And can you kind of place that for us since it's not there anymore?
That was in between the current Bridgeton garage and the trucking company.
On Fifi?
On Fifi. It was a brown stucco building. I think it was built in 1925, 28, something like that.
Did it have kindergarten?
Yes, I had kindergarten in the basement.
In the basement?
Mm-hmm. And first, second, and third were on the main, no, first, second, and sixth were on the main floor, and third was in the upstairs. Yeah.
And I know you have a picture there. Is that from the grade school?
Yes, that would be.
Where are you on that picture?
Let's see, right about there.
And it was a graduation?
That's the grade school graduation.
And you were graduating from what?
Kindergarten.
Well, that was quite a big celebration.
Yes.
So did you go all the way through the Pattonville school?
Yes. I was in the first group to go into what they started to call middle school. Our group was the big bulge after World War II. And there really wasn't enough school buildings to accommodate us. And the people who lived over in St. Anne's were going to school in Fifi Baptist Church.
Oh, really?
And I was in the regular old school building. And so when we got to 6th grade, they decided they were going to build a junior high and do 7th, 8th, and 9th in that. And they didn't have it finished by the time we were ready. So we did 7th grade in the high school building. And that's really scary because you have all these really big people, and we had gym class with high school girls.
Oh my goodness.
And we took showers all together.
Oh yeah, what a scary thing.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, look at that.
So you went up to 6th grade then at the Pattonville school, grade school.
Right.
And was this the building they were building, is this the one on St. Charles Rock Road across from what used to be Northwest Plaza.
That's middle school, yes. It's called Homeland.
Holman, yes. Yes. Did you end up going to Holman at all then?
Yes, I went to eighth and ninth grade there, and then we went over to the high school when we were sophomores.
So you kind of got a real preview of what high school was like.
Oh yes, very scary.
Did your brother and sister both follow through with the Pattonville schools?
Yes, by the time my brother was in grade school, they were putting the second grade and I think probably the third grade over in a temporary building across the street where the what's the name of it?
The credit union?
Credit union. There was a white frame temporary building, kind of looked like what they build for Army barracks
Oh, uh-huh.
over there. And then eventually they built the credit union building next to it. So I think my sister went in that one. She's 8 years younger than I am.
Was that also called the Pattonville School?
That was Pattonville Grade School, yes.
That was also called Pattonville School.
Mm-hmm. Pattonville Grade School, and then I went to high school in the place that's up there on the Rock Road, but I don't think that building is there anymore. I think they've built another building and then moved the high school out onto Record Mill. Oh, thank you. Sorry. But, thankfully they're not going to record a message.
Tell me, what was high school at Pattonville like for you back then?
Well, I think we were really focused on,
The second time you were there.
yes. The second time.
The real time you were
The
there.
second time was a lot more fun. We were really focused on basketball
Go.
and basketball tournaments.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I was in art, and my 7th grade art teacher liked me so well. She found a job for me one summer where I would go out and paint at someone's house. I painted a mural on their wall.
Really? Wow, as a high school student.
Well, it was 7th grade.
Wow.
And then by the time I got to high school, I did not have to go through the whole sequence of the art program. They just put me in the Art 4 to start with, and I just stayed there all through my
Wow.
high school career.
Wow. Now, we noticed you have a lot of artwork on your walls. What particular art form do you do?
I do oil painting and watercolor.
Well, I know recently when we had an open house at the Payne Gentry Historic House that you were there demonstrating your watercoloring,
Yes.
and it was quite lovely. And you
Oh
were,
no. Pull the plug.
and you were doing a painting of the Payne Gentry House.
Yes.
Did you finish that?
Yes, I did.
Perhaps maybe we can display it or
We can
somehow.
look at it later. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, we won't make too much out of things.
Do you do any other kinds of art?
Well, I don't.
Ceramic or anything?
I did. I went as an art major to University of Missouri, and I did ceramics while I was there.
At Columbia?
Mm-hmm. And I did sculpture while I was there.
You did.
But I, just at a lower level, that's not been my focus.
Oh, I see.
But I taught 7th grade art at Hake.
You did?
Yeah. And I, helped the students there do ceramics, and I fired up the kiln and stuff.
So you were an art student and then you became an art teacher.
Yes.
How long did you teach there?
I taught probably 2.5 years. My ex-husband was in Vietnam.
Oh, uh-huh.
And when he got back, I got pregnant. So in those days, after you were 5 months pregnant, you had to quit.
Not like it is now.
No. And of course, we used to sit around the teacher's lounge and say, you know, the trouble with these children is all the mothers are working and they're not home raising their children. And so when I got a child, I did not go back to teaching. I said, okay, put up or shut up. Stay home with your child.
Because that's what I've been saying all this time.
Yes. You know, I would kind of like to tell you something about very, very early Pattonville.
Oh, sure.
Which you might not have asked me about.
Sure.
My mom and dad lived at 3817 Raymond, which is across the street from where I am now. And my dad was in the Navy in World War II, so that's the reason we settled here, because he was at Lambert Airport in the Navy Naval Air Station there.
Oh.
So he wanted to build a house in this area because that's where he was working. And I believe Bob Schutte built his house. And he borrowed money from Community Federal, all these, you know, places that have been here forever. And before he built the house, he lived with Parker Kilby over on, which is, they had land over by Mark Twain Lane.
Mark Twain Lane is where runs parallel to Highway 70?
Right.
Yes.
Yes. So then he went up to Chicago and found my mom.
He found your mom? Was she?
Yes, she was in the Chicago World's Fair.
Oh my
He
goodness.
was a sailor, picked her up.
Oh my goodness.
And then
Was she working at the Chicago exhibition as a...
I think she well, her family was from Czechoslovakia,
Oh my goodness.
both mother and father. And I think she and her sister Helen were working there in that Czechoslovakian booth.
Oh, I see.
I'm not positive about this, but that's what I think.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, when I was little, I lived over there at 3817 when I was about 4 years old. I lived in Chicago until I was 3 because my dad was overseas. And when he came back, then we came to our house here in Bridgeton, which was at that time Pattonville. And they had not incorporated it all yet. And at a later date, there was a referendum between St. Anne's and Bridgeton, and the people in the Pattonville area voted to join Bridgeton. But I remember as a little kid, we used to walk up Raymond, and I think there's a lawyer's office now there. It was a confectionery.
On St. Charles Rock Road?
On St. Charles Road, on the corner of Raymond and, oh yeah, St. Charles Rock Road. Yeah.
Across from Brannicky?
Yes, and we used to stop in there and get ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
And
How much do you think the ice cream cost back then? Could you have any kind of an idea how much money you would have needed?
I was 4 years old.
Oh, okay.
So, and we would go across to Brannicky's, which at that time there were 3 parts of it. Facing it on the left was the post office, and we would walk up there to get our mail, and we had a post office box. And then in the middle was the hardware store, that was Oliver Brannicky, and then on the right was a grocery store, and I think Pete and maybe Peggy Brannicky had that grocery store part. And I remember walking up there to get pork chops for my mom, not when I was 4, but when I was older, like maybe first grade.
Mm-hmm.
You could walk across St. Charles Rock Road as a kid, no light. I mean, there was no traffic coming. This was very rural.
And your parents felt good or safe or comfortable about you doing it?
Right, right. It was amazing. And then where the gun club is now was a feed store and that was owned by the Adams family, not those Adams, but more like the Adams. I think it was an Adams milk family because it's a feed store. And there were two young girls closer to my age, and that was their parents' store. So we used to go in there and climb up on the feed stacks and grab ropes that were there and just swing out. Yeah. And I was kind of jealous of them because they had dresses made out of feed sacks. I couldn't have dresses made out of feed sack because there were no feed sacks in my family.
I don't know that would have been comfortable, but
They were soft, amazingly.
oh,
Yeah, they looked like burlap, but they were soft. The ones that, you know, the
did
ones
they
that
have a belt around the middle? Do you think they wore a
I don't think so. I think
just
it
like
was
a
just
shift kind of a
smart
thing?
looking, yeah.
Did they also go to your school?
Yes, Lois Adams was like a year younger than I, and Doris, her sister, was a couple years older.
Was the big house on the corner where Walgreens is now, Mrs. Lucas' house, was that there?
Yes, and my brother worked for Mrs. Lucas.
He did.
Yes.
Doing what?
Yard work.
Oh, really?
She was very tough.
Tough?
She was tough.
Now, I don't know the lady, I did not know her at all, so
Yeah.
Are you talking about Gertrude or her mother?
I'm not sure. But I do know that he worked over there and did yard work and cleaning and inevitably got poison ivy.
Oh, yeah, that,
So I as an older person, I'm looking back thinking, I bet you that my parents paid out more to take care of his poison ivy than he ever earned.
oh, yeah.
But she used to have bachelor buttons growing alongside. She had a cow in there.
A cow.
Yeah, a barn and a cow. And I'd walk along and I picked the bachelor buttons to take home to my mom, and she caught me one time.
Oh.
That's why I say she was tough.
Uh-huh.
What are you doing picking my flowers?
Oh, bet you didn't do that again, did you?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I never thought about them being anyone's flowers. They
Oh.
just looked like they were growing by the side of the road.
I
you
see.
know.
Well, speaking of the road, did you walk to school when the
Yes.
Pattonville grade school?
Yes. Uphill both ways.
Did you take your lunch, or did they offer any kind of a lunch?
I took my lunch. Eventually, they offered lunch, but I think not until they got in the other building, in the new one that the what do you call it? Credit union is in. But I always took my lunch. I mean, I could walk home for lunch.
Wow.
But I didn't want to because then you give up your lunch recess.
Which is so important to
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
You went into art. Did either one of your brothers or sisters do that?
My sister has done some art, but she's really, she's more of a writer.
Oh.
And my mom used to do art. She and I took an art class together. I think we took toll painting from a lady down on Oak Street. I can't remember her name right now. But that was fun. My mom always liked to draw.
And you say you had a baby, a son or daughter?
My first child was a daughter, and I stayed home with her to raise her.
What's her name?
Judy Repke, and she went all through Pattonville too, because we lived right here. So I've always lived right around in here. And
What grade school did she go to?
she started out in that one that is the credit union.
Okay.
And my son started out in there too.
And then eventually that became the community center, correct?
Yes, and then I used to work there.
Really? What did
Yes,
you do there?
I taught preschool for the community center.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. I took my son there for a class or two. That's why I remember it.
Yes.
before our present community center was built.
Mhm. There was a nice big area behind there for kids to run, just a big open field.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught that with another gal, and we had these kids out for recess, and I looked around, and all the kids are kind of huddled down there looking at something on the ground. I thought, I think I'll go see what they're looking at. It was a little snake.
Uh-huh.
And it was all coiled up with its little head up like this.
Uh-huh.
And it was decorated with all kinds of flowers.
Flowers?
The children had picked flowers and put it all around the little snake. And Melody Sasaki was the other teacher.
I vaguely remember her.
Yes. And I said, oh, Melody, I think we should go in. There's a snake here and the children are playing with it.
Yeah.
Neither one of us particularly liked snakes, so we
uh-huh.
went right in. But that was the last time we saw him.
Yeah, I guess so. That snake had it.
There was one when I was in 3rd grade up on the attic level of that old Pattonville school building. Snake came out of the wall.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
There was wildlife in that building.
Oh my goodness. Do you have any recollections of the Payne Gentry house when you were a young girl?
I really have some kind of idea of Larry Avery. I don't know. He must have lived in that area where the Payne Gentry was. I don't think there was any Carrollton or St. James or anything at that time. It was all like farm.
Uh-huh.
And I think he lived back there. I remember him out in that area riding his horse.
Oh.
Yeah. I thought he was my boyfriend for a while.
Did he think so?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
But he didn't like school very much, so he kind of got left behind.
Oh.
Yeah. So we went on to high school, and
Did you meet your future husband at the Pattonville High School?
I did. We went to junior prom together, and we just kept on going together. I wanted to go to Mizzou, so he decided to go to Mizzou.
Oh, okay. Let's both go, huh?
Yeah, and so we got married in our last year, and we were both, well, my dad was pretty old-fashioned. I wanted to go to college, but he said, what do you want to go to college for? You just get married and have children.
Now, I think this is well worth kind of pausing here and talking about, because I don't know that the generation of young people understand that women in your era they really weren't expecting them to go into higher education, were they?
Not really too much.
Not unless you wanted to be a teacher or nurse, right?
Exactly, because I wanted to be a commercial artist. And I talked to, they had one of these days where companies come, and I talked to a couple of companies from St. Louis that were hiring commercial artists. And I said, well, what would I have to do to prepare myself to come to work for your company? And they quite plainly said, oh no, we would never hire women.
Oh, what year do you think that was? Could you give us a year when maybe?
It was 1963, maybe.
Things were limited for women, weren't they?
Exactly.
And I think that's one good thing about talking right now. For, like I said, young people to understand that women just didn't, weren't expected to go on to higher education. And for many of these, being a doctor, a professional person, banker, you probably didn't see women come in for a long time.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And I just wanted to go. So my dad made us save half of our allowance.
Which isn't a bad thing.
Right. And so I got a scholarship from Mizzou that covered all of my expenses
Wow,
for
that's
books and
great.
tuition, but not for housing.
Uh-huh.
And so my dad wrote down and paid for my first year's housing, but after that first year, he was done. And so the second year, I paid for my housing out of the money that I had saved, and I might have cashed in an insurance policy as well. And then there were National Defense Education loans as well for people that want to go into teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about those is they used to, for every year you taught, they'd forgive part of the loan.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Would there have been any other options besides Mizzou? Would there have been other places you could have gone?
Well, the community college system was not up and running then. And
What about University of Missouri at St. Louis? Was that?
nope,
No.
that wasn't up and running yet either.
Kirksville, though.
What?
Kirksville.
Yes, yes, I could have gone to any of those teachers' colleges too. But I, at first, didn't think I was going to be a teacher.
Okay.
At
All
first, I
right.
thought I was going to be a commercial artist.
And, okay, when you say commercial artist, what did you have, or what would that have entailed?
Well, and you know, I had no idea, but
It sounded good?
but I wanted to do art,
Uh-huh.
and that was where that led, you know. So, but later I found out that what it entails is doing what other people want done with art. Whereas now, since I'm retired, I get to do whatever I want to do as an artist. But it would have involved making brochures or
Yes.
catalogs or
Working for a company, maybe some type of advertisement.
advertising, yeah.
Yes.
It would definitely be advertising.
Mm-hmm. And what did your husband go into?
Well, he loved math, and he was taking calculus, and with no job focus, just taking calculus. And his mother said, "You had better go into accounting because there's jobs in accounting."
Yes, us parents always looking for that job angle.
So he actually ended up in accounting. He never finished his degree though because he shipped out to Vietnam.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, was he in Army or no, you said Naval?
My dad was in the Navy.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Fred was in the Army,
Okay.
and he did his basic at what's the one in Missouri?
Fort Leonard Wood?
Fort Leonard Wood. He did his basic at Fort Leonard Wood, and then he did his AIT at Fort Hood in Texas.
Okay. My husband finished at Fort Hood, Texas.
Yeah. And then, and when he mustered out, he came out in Texas as well. I think it was maybe Dallas. Maybe
Were
it
you
was-
teaching then at that time while he was in the Army?
Yes, I was.
And where were you living then?
I started out living in off of Page, in some apartments off of Page, and my dad wanted me to buy this house.
This house you're in presently?
But Fred was not able to sign, and so Fred's dad signed.
Oh.
So when he came back from Vietnam, he was the owner of a house and a car.
Wow. Surprise.
Yeah. He left me with a Nash Rambler, and I wasn't too happy with that car because it seemed like it couldn't start up and keep going in the morning unless I stuck a screwdriver in the carburetor to hold the carburetor open. And I kept doing that, and I'm going, I'm so tired of doing this. I'm going to buy a different car.
Uh-huh.
And my brother is a big gearhead. He always, and of course my dad was a mechanic. He was a airplane mechanic, and then he was an automobile. When he got out of the Navy, he was an automobile mechanic. So I wanted an Oldsmobile. I wanted an Oldsmobile with a V8.
Wow, you were going big, huh?
Yes, when I pressed on the gas, I wanted the car to go.
Well, that's not so much to ask, is it?
No.
But at that time, could you have just gone out and bought the car on your own, or did you need someone to sign for it?
No, I was able to buy it.
Because you were over 21?
And I had a teaching job.
Okay.
So I looked like I had a good income.
Oh, all right.
And Fred was getting also income from the Army. Although I apparently did not cash a lot of the checks. Because when he came home, he found a lot of the checks. So he had a good start on a bank account because I was just basically living on my income.
Did you do that on purpose, or did you?
I was kind of you know how people say that artists are a little flighty? Was.
Okay.
Was a little flighty.
We're just gonna lay it out there, huh?
Yes.
Now, you said you have 2 children.
Yes.
Are either one of them artistic?
My daughter is a math head like her dad.
Oh.
But she is also creative. So what she does is she's a programmer. So she creates with math. And I could tell that she was a creative programmer because she would talk about her programs the way I talked about my art. And I'm going, I didn't know programming was creative.
Yeah.
But she has the same feeling about what she's doing.
Does she live here in
She
town?
lives in St. Anne's.
Oh, just down the street.
Yeah. And my son went through the Pattonville schools too, and he was in music. He was in band,
Oh, good.
and he also did some drama.
Oh, fun. Now, speaking of music, I know I've talked to you before, and you are also musically inclined. Isn't that correct?
I like to sing, but I don't really like the discipline of learning to play an instrument. I had piano lessons when I was a child, but I didn't want to practice. I wanted to be outside playing. And one time I took a pencil and scratched that piano because I was a nasty little mean kid.
Oh, no.
It was my mother's beautiful piano that she had saved money to buy when she was working, and I scratched it. So that was the end of my piano lessons. But I do like to sing.
And who do you sing with?
I sing by myself a lot, but I actually sing with Grace Church Choir. So they were nice enough to let me sing, even though a lot of them have a deeper musical background than I do. It's amazing. A lot of them are understand music theory a lot.
Well, it's wonderful that you can do both art and music. The one family member from the Payne Gentry family, Mary Lee Payne Gentry, was also a music and art person.
All right.
Yeah, she attended Stevens College in Columbia, Missouri, and she got her teaching certificate and taught in that one-room schoolhouse on Fifi Road that she attended. And then she went back to study art and music. So you kind of have some parallels to her.
Yeah, yeah.
And she, I think, actually entered some artwork in that Chicago exhibition.
Oh, right.
I believe so.
Excellent.
So you do have some parallels. And of course, living here in Bridgeton,
Mhm.
not far.
Not far away.
Not far. So after your children were growing up, then you said you were working at the preschool there at the Pattonville School?
I actually worked at the preschool while my kids were in school.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed at home with them as long as they weren't in school, but then when they went to school. I liked that preschool job because I went there after they had gotten on the bus, and it was a half a day, so I came home and was home right when they were coming back from school.
That's very ideal for a working mom, isn't it?
Yes, it is perfect.
And then did you go on and do something else after they were, what, in high school or graduated?
I did a number of things. One of the things I did was the cable company here used to produce videos, and I wanted them to produce a video of the Fifi Baptist Church program, because I used to go to Fifi Baptist. In fact, I went to the old building when I was a kid.
The
And
chapel church?
the part where it's the wedding chapel.
Yes.
And I can remember being in there with my friend Beverly Albright, and it was hot summertime, no air conditioning, and we were all there for Bible school. We were packed in like little sardines, and she fell out.
Oh my goodness, she fainted?
Yes, she did.
Wow.
And I also remember being baptized in there,
Oh.
in the old building.
Mm-hmm.
And when Reverend Capra was there prior to Wallace Jones.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I sat under Wallace Jones for years, and his teaching, shall I say, not him. So, and I wanted the cable company to come and videotape their production, their Easter production. You remember when they used to have actually the animals come and Jesus rode the donkey in to the church?
I was not aware of that. I was not aware of that.
They did Passion Play, and they had Jesus come up the middle aisle carrying the cross.
Wow.
And weeping and wailing, people following him. It was very intense.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, oh no, we can't do that. Why don't you do it? And so they talked me into coming up there and learning to use cameras. And it was like art to me, you know, because you see a picture
Mm-hmm.
in the camera. Only you also add music and movement to it, and it's very exciting and addictive, I thought.
Okay.
And so I changed my focus, and I started doing more of video than art. And I did go on a lot of remote video shoots with the cable company every time it was somebody's holiday parade, and then I got involved with Pattonville High School, and I shot something called Pattonville Presents, which showcased different aspects of what was happening in the schools. So I'd go out to the schools and I would shoot the students, or they put in a track, so I went out and shot the people doing the exercise track to promote different things that the school was doing that was good.
What year was this?
Pattonville Presents.
Roughly.
69.
69?
No, 69 is when my daughter was born, and she was in junior high then. So what would that be, 80s?
Into the, oh well.
So there were no video recorders other than you used a film movie camera in it?
No, we used reel-to-reel videotape, 3/4 inch.
Really?
Yeah, 3/4.
That's not very portable.
No, that was a hefty item for me to
Yeah.
carry, but I was young.
Wow.
Yeah, I can and the light kit, and then they had a certain amount of time that they were supposed to give to community service in order to have the contract for the cable running through here. So they let me use the equipment local access it was called. I used the local access equipment, and then I edited in their studio, and then we did a 3-camera studio shoot with officials from the principals of the school, where I had shot the science program or something like that. And the camera operators were volunteers. We were all volunteers. And one of the camera operators was a volunteer from the Heights Middle School, and his mom was the lady interviewer, like yourself. And he was there running camera, and you're never supposed to lock your knees when you're running camera. And so he did, and I was directing it, and I saw the camera going like this, and I go, oh, he's gonna fall out. And I quickly changed from his camera, and there's a floor director. I told our floor director to wrap it up quickly, and we wrapped up the show, and he came over.
Wow. Wow.
But after that, I decided, I did some local access for University City. I did 2 of them, and they paid me. And I had been trying to get back into teaching, and I couldn't get a teaching job. And I thought, well, I'm getting more money. I'm getting paid more money to do television than I am to teach. I've come closer to getting a job in television, which I thought was totally weird and strange. But and here again, this is a thing that women probably are not supposed to be allowed to do. So, my husband's company wanted a video done. They were going to roll out a new product. And I guess they had seen the Pat and Phil Presents show, and they thought it was him. They kept asking him to do the video. They asked him, and he said, no, that's my wife. No, that's my wife. Finally, they were a very sexist group. And finally, they had to call me up and ask me to do it.
They didn't have any other choice, huh?
No, well, they actually had talked to Intervision Productions, but it was very expensive.
Uh-huh.
And they asked me if I would do it, and I could get the equipment, local access equipment, for free. And so I got the local access equipment, I got the lighting, and I took their script, which was, just one, and split it up so that I could get 2 camera angles. So everything for this person, I shot in this direction. And then when I had all those done, then everything for that person, I turned the camera around and shot in that direction. And then I knew somebody that would edit 3/4 inch tape together. And so that guy was real strange. No, he edited that 3/4 inch tape together, and he talked. I watched him, and he talked on the phone a whole lot whilst he was doing it. And then he wanted to charge me more because it took him longer than, predicted. And I had only bid so much money for the editing. And so I said, oh no, I'm not paying for the time you were on the phone. And he got out this big silver revolver. And he said, I just want to show you.
I just want to scare the heck out of you, huh?
And I thought, I don't care. I am not paying anymore. I didn't say a thing. I said, oh yeah, that's really pretty.
Oh.
So he took my money, and I turned in the finished product to Hunter, and I made $15 an hour.
Oh, well, that's pretty good.
Back in
I'm
the
sure,
day.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would have been considered very good. Tell us just a little bit more about this area. as you lived here on Raymond, you must have seen them build what used to be Northwest Plaza,
Yes, that used to be a cow pasture.
a cow pasture.
Yes, and I think the Post family owned that. They're the ones that
Erastus Post?
yeah, they were the ones that gave the land for the Phoebe Baptist
True,
Church.
yes.
And I remember Miss Laura and Miss Ida Post, they
Yes.
sat up on the front pew, and there was a little place there for them to plug in the hearing aid so that they could. So that was definitely their spot. Nobody
Yeah.
sat there.
Now, is this in the small chapel church?
Yes, yes.
Yes, he gave, from what I understand, 5 acres of land for that. Before that, they were meeting in the old meeting house there at the cemetery.
Yeah. Yeah, I never met in that one. But the current old chapel was built before I.
And there's some beautiful
Started
stained
going
glass windows in there. I have been to a wedding in there, and it's really quite lovely in there.
It is, it is. They were the first Protestant church west of the Mississippi.
I'm glad we still have it.
Yeah. And they had trouble getting a bell
A bell.
and a steeple
Why's that?
because the Catholic Church was the real power in St. Louis.
Oh,
Did not want them to have a bell and a steeple.
what would that usurp the Catholics then? If they had a bell and a steeple?
Yeah, I don't know.
We've heard similar stories from other people, also restrictions concerning baptisms and marriages, right?
And those I didn't know about.
Mhm.
But my mom and dad were married by the pastor of Phi Baptist, but I don't know what his name was. That was before Brother Capper. Brother Capper came at the end of World War II.
Mm-hmm. So what did you think when Northwest Plaza was being built? I'm sure you could see a daily progression living as close as
Oh
you
yeah,
do.
oh yeah, and I really enjoyed it when it opened, and I loved taking the children in stroller over to walk around there. It was kind of like a park to me, because there was the fountains and stuff.
Right, yes.
And you could walk and window shop, and you didn't have to buy anything. And I actually could get across Lambert fairly easily. There was a light,
Uh-huh.
but evidently I felt comfortable enough to
Did
take
either
them.
one of your children ever get a part-time job there when they were teenagers?
I don't remember them doing it. My daughter was a soccer ref down there, the field down on Fifi.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think my son, but my mother worked at Famous.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I worked at Famous when I graduated from college that summer before I started teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I did register audits because they
Oh,
thought
uh-huh.
somebody was losing money, but they couldn't find out
Oh.
who or where.
Uh-huh.
So I used to audit registers every night for someone that hates math.
Uh-uh.
Crazy. But they found, actually I don't hate math, but I was always better at other things.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I was like average at math, and it didn't. It took me a long time to realize that I was really skewed towards English and scored really, really high in English, and by average math was frustrating to me. But I managed to do enough that they found out who it was.
Good, good. No, when your mother worked there, did she walk there?
No. When I quit there, I willed her my job,
Oh, uh-huh.
but she drove.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was, and I remember when they built West Haven subdivision. I used to ride my bike down there.
Down off Lambert?
Yeah, it's off of Fifi too, right?
Yes, I suppose either way, yes.
Yeah. And Null's store used to be down that way, and a girlfriend of mine lived down there. I used to ride my bike down that way.
Well, Joe's wife's father, didn't he work there at the grocery store there?
For a short time after the war.
Yes.
But Archie Null built that store, and he and his wife Wanda ran it earlier. That's maybe what you remember.
Yeah.
Art and Wanda.
Just being a kid, I don't think I knew the first names
Yeah.
of.
But their name was Null.
Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Null.
Right. We always called adults Mr. and Mrs. We never referred to them as their first name, did we?
Mm-mm.
No. And I know my children's teachers, you always referred to them by their last name.
Right.
Even the parents wouldn't have called them by a first name.
Nope.
Different world.
Yes. Really was.
How was it when your children went to Pattonville High School for you, having been an alumni yourself? How was it to send then your children?
Well, it was a whole different ballgame because now they were over on Creve Court Mill, and it was huge. When I graduated, there was 150 kids in my graduating class. Now, when my sister graduated, there was starting to be like 1,000 or
Oh
something.
my, wow.
Wasn't there? Do you remember Pattonville having that many?
I don't know, I didn't go there, I don't know.
No, I don't
Oh,
have any knowledge of that.
in
But it's a big school.
Yes, and it was I don't know when they quit tracking people, but they used to track.
What do you mean? Oh, you mean as far as scholastics?
Right.
Oh, okay.
But I made a big mistake. I didn't realize that if you took art, that it put you automatically in a lower track. So I wanted my daughter to take art, but if she's very smart,
Uh-huh.
and it automatically put her in a lower track, and she found out that kids didn't like somebody that was smart. They spit wads at her and stuck gum in her hair and stuff, So she just hid all that being smart and started looking tough.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and
Well, what are you doing now for the most part with your time?
well, when I started with video, then I went to the records. Well, it was a record center, but it was new equipment training for the Army,
Oh,
and I did computer graphics for video for them. And then I went to Western Illinois University, and I did some video stuff for them on a grant. And the grant ran out, and so then I came back to St. Louis. I happened to get hooked up with, actually I went in an interview to Harris Stowe State College. At the time I was working for Kinko's. So I wore my Kinko's shirt, and I had a tie with jewels on the tie, which was my rebellion against the uniform that Kinko's people had to wear. And so when I interviewed at Harris Stowe, it was a committee interview.
oh.
Lots of people.
Mm.
And all of the people who would be working with me, because I was interviewing for a job as the media technician. And so the counselor said, I found out this later, and they discussed me, the counselor said, oh, we need somebody here that has the nerve to wear a jeweled tie.
On that basis alone, huh?
Yes. But and then somebody else asked me about troubleshooting, and I said, well, I am like a dog with a bone. If I run into a trouble problem, I don't let it go. I just keep after it until it's solved. And some people, it irritates them how far I'll go to continue to try and find the answer. But they liked those two things, so I got hired, and that was where I worked until I retired.
Okay.
But I went from being the media technician to being the coordinator of media services. So I was the coordinator of media services when I retired.
Well, thank you so much for letting us come over today and talk to you. And I know we've seen several of your art pieces, and I do admire the work you do. And I hope you stay with us on the Historical Commission for a long time.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thanks.